Imagine this. You're a soldier in the German army. It's June 1941. Your unit is rolling through Lithuania as part of Operation Barbarossa, the massive invasion of the Soviet Union. Everything is going according to plan, until it isn't. Suddenly, a single Soviet tank appears. It's huge, it's angry, and it won't budge. For over 24 hours, it blocks the only road forward. Your trucks are burning, your anti-tank guns are useless. And the tank, it just won't die. This is the incredible true story of the Battle of Raseiniai. You'll learn how one Soviet KV-2 tank held up an entire German Panzer division and why it became one of the most legendary moments of World War II. To understand this battle, you need to know about Operation Barbarossa. On June 22, 1941, Germany launched a massive surprise attack on the Soviet Union. Over 3 million German troops poured across the border. Germany wanted to conquer the Soviet Union quickly. The German army split into 3 main groups. Army Group North moved through the Baltic states, Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia. One of their targets, the city of Leningrad. But on the way, near the town of Raseiniai in Lithuania, the Germans ran into the Soviet 2nd Tank Division. Most of the Soviet tanks were old and outmatched, but one of them wasn't. One of them was the KV-2. The KV-2 was no ordinary tank. It was a monster. It weighed over 50 tons and had armor up to 110 millimeters thick. Most German guns couldn't even scratch it. Its main gun was a 152 millimeters howitzer. That's more like a cannon than a regular tank gun. It was designed to destroy bunkers and enemy fortifications. The KV-2 was slow, clumsy, and hard to maneuver. But if you put it in the right spot, it was nearly unstoppable. By June 1941, only a few hundred KV-2s had been made. They weren't easy to build, but one of them would soon make history at Raseiniai. As the German 6th Panzer Division pushed toward Leningrad, they advanced along a key supply route near Raseiniai, unaware that something formidable was lying in wait. At a crossroads, hidden in a grove of trees, sat a lone KV-2 heavy tank from the Soviet 2nd Tank Division. Its massive turret slowly turned toward the approaching column. Then, thunder. The KV-2 opened fire with its 152 millimeter howitzer. The first shell struck a German fuel truck, sending fireballs into the sky. The convoy ground to a halt. Within moments, 3 more vehicles were burning, and the narrow road became a trap. Chaos broke out as soldiers dove for cover. The Germans scrambled to respond. They brought in their standard 37 millimeter PaK-36 anti-tank guns, nicknamed door knockers by the troops for their ineffectiveness against heavier armor. And ineffective they were. Shells ricocheted off the KV-2's thick frontal armor like pebbles. They upgraded to 50 millimeter guns. Still, nothing. They even tried maneuvering Panzer III and IV tanks into flanking positions. But as soon as they appeared, the KV-2 spotted them and fired, reducing them to burning wrecks. Every time German forces attempted to bypass the tank through the nearby woods or flanking trails, the KV-2 would unleash another devastating blast. One German officer described it as an iron bunker with the firepower of an artillery battery. Infantry attempted to outflank on foot. Some tried to close in with grenades. The KV-2 repelled them by rotating its turret and firing at close range, splintering trees and men alike. Its crew, believed to be just 4 or 5 Soviet tankers, fought like they were possessed. And the worst part for the Germans? They couldn't move forward. This single tank had turned a vital supply route into a graveyard of twisted metal and burning fuel. For over 24 hours, it held up the entire 6th Panzer Division, thousands of men and hundreds of vehicles, with sheer defiance. German commanders considered bringing in the feared 88mm anti-aircraft gun, one of the few weapons capable of penetrating heavy armor. But deploying it would take time and space, something they didn't have in the thick forest near Raseiniai. Instead, the Germans turned to field artillery, bringing in 105mm howitzers and bombarding the area from a distance. Dust and smoke filled the air, but when the barrage ended, the KV-2 was still there, scorched but alive. They sent in dive bombers, Stukas, screaming down from above. But the tank's position beneath tree cover made accurate hits difficult. Bombs cratered the surrounding terrain, but once again, the KV-2 endured. Finally, the Germans resorted to desperation. In the early morning hours, a special team of combat engineers was assembled. Armed with satchel charges, grenades, and flamethrowers, they crawled through the brush, using wreckage and darkness for cover. Under suppressive fire, a few of them managed to reach the KV-2's rear. They placed explosives on the engine deck, the tank's most vulnerable spot. The explosion rocked the hull. Smoke and fire billowed from the back. But incredibly, the KV-2's main gun fired once more. It was only after more grenades and incendiaries were shoved into the vents and hatches that the tank finally went silent. When the Germans cautiously approached the smoldering beast, they found the crew either dead or mortally wounded, likely having fought to the last breath. Inside, the walls were blackened, the air thick with cordite. The entire turret had taken dozens of hits, none of which had penetrated. The wreckage was later used by German units as cover, a grim monument to both the tank's resilience and the price of taking it down. The KV-2 wasn't a perfect tank. It was too slow for fast-moving battles. It broke down often. And after 1941, it was quickly replaced by better designs. But at Raseiniai, the KV-2 showed what heavy armor and a brave crew could do. It inspired later Soviet tanks like the IS-2 and even influenced German designs like the Tiger. The story became a legend in Soviet history. But outside of Russia, many people never heard of it. Today, only a few KV-2 tanks survive in museums, but the one at Raseiniai, that one made history. Thanks for watching. If you want more forgotten stories from World War II, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. There's more history to uncover. See you next time.